Okay, proceed.
We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda, approval of minutes from the special lodgers tax meeting of May 26, 2020. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to get a copy of that and look over it. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? I think it was muted.
It would have to, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't motion because I wasn't there.
Right. I'm trying to remember, who was there?
It was
Melissa,
you, and Anna.
Anna.
Laura, you weren't there for the last one either, correct? Because
I don't know. I might have been. Was that my first
I
meeting?
think that
I don't.
was. That's when we.
I don't know if I was there.
No,
no.
no, that was a special meeting we just had.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was Anna.
It was Anna,
just
Melissa.
Only Anna.
So we're
Melissa.
gonna have to forego the approval of the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I've never had to do that before.
Well, no, it shows Lori Robertson was present.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Laura, you can make a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
All right. Obviously that one will pass. Just glad I looked at the minutes. All right. Next, is Judy going to be in or is she?
Well, that's what I was just asking.
Okay.
We can skip her if we need to.
Then we're going to move on to Becky.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
do that.
Becky, we're going to go ahead and move on to you. We haven't heard from Judy yet. Oh, she's muted. Is there any way to?
Unmute her.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here.
All right. There we go.
Good morning, everybody. So, as you probably all know, Deborah and I are working the visitor center by ourselves right now. The only visitor center we have open is the one at the chamber, and it's not open. We are answering the phones. Right now, especially with this 14-day quarantine, whether people are following it or not, there's no reason for anybody to come in there before they go quarantine if they were going to, and use our bathroom, because that's about the extent of what people would be coming in there for. We're getting lots of phone calls. They're pretty crazy. Quite frankly, they're like phone calls we've never had before. And right now, since this self-quarantine thing, a lot of the calls have been about that. And I don't know, why don't I stand for question? Did anybody get Justin, did my report go out? I don't think it did.
No, just because by the time we had the agenda submitted, it was too late to attach it to it for
Yeah,
open meetings. But if you just want to verbally cover some of the stuff, we can do
Yes.
that.
We do have a Bring Business Back campaign going, and we've been giving away tons of masks. We've given away 6,000 masks at this point, and I think we've got about 2,000 more coming. Lots of people are, obviously, if we've given many away, people are using them. I hope they're not just throwing them away. They're not disposable, they're reusable. And they were made by Hanes. So I've got a request in for 2,000 more. I did tell Dr. Bickert that we would save 1,000 of those for the schools in the event that they did need them. He thinks they've got that covered. But I actually hurt myself the other day, guys, and I don't have my report here either. So if you could, maybe Justin help me out and tell me anything you think I need to be sharing.
Let me pull it up real quick, Becky.
Okay, appreciate it. Kelly, how are you feeling?
Very pregnant.
Okay. Nice to see you, Matt.
No, I'm good. 8 weeks, 8 weeks, something to go.
Oh, wow. It's getting there.
Becky, just on your report, you were talking about you're waiting for the state to give guidance on CSPs for reopening visitor centers.
Yes.
I know that they've been real touch and go on that. They've been real touch and go on that type of stuff, at least from what I've seen, and I haven't got any indicators from the state what they're looking like. So have you had any updates?
Well, the only thing that I'm hearing is that because most of the people that come into visitor centers are not from the state of New Mexico, they prefer us not to be having those people in our building.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and as far as Billy the Kid goes, as far as our building goes, I'm not comfortable with either building right now. There's too many unknowns, and to put people in there to kind of be the front line for the village, like, come on in, you know, I think that we're asking for, I think that the liability of that is a little high right now till we know more.
Yeah, no worries. So the state still, I mean, I'm sure they've been kind of quiet on all this and just really kind of don't open. Is that what their position has been?
Basically, that's what they're saying. Well, they have not opened the visitor centers that are run by the state.
Yeah, the NMTD ones. Okay.
Right. And so I think that we're following the lead of that. That's what I've been asked to do. And I think that's what almost all the other chambers basically are doing in the state of New Mexico that are running visitor centers. So any questions about that from you guys or any input?
On that, nothing specific. Just thank you for your hard work. I know you're put in a real precarious position, and then the mask thing I think is huge. I cannot commend you enough for being able to get those pulled together, and I'm sure it was a lot of work on the back end, but I know that I've heard quite a few people across town very appreciative of that. So thank you on behalf of the people that I've heard talk about it.
Yes, I was really excited that we were able to get our hands on them. You know, right now, if we're going to get this place open, we do have to do everything we can to mitigate this virus. And one of the things we can do is wear a mask. It's mandated now. I mean, I think at this point, you need to quit fighting whatever and I want to see us get back open. So the safer we can be, the better off. Obviously, our numbers are spiking. And maybe yesterday's numbers were like something good in the future as far as a forecast, but our numbers are spiking. We expected that to happen. At the same time, I've got staff I've got to keep safe until we know more.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I have.
That's it.
That's all I have too. But anybody I don't care whether people are members of the chamber. If we have a business in town that needs a mask, tell them to contact us. We'll have them all bagged up. They can come pick them. We meet them at the side door. It's very contactless, and just hand them over. But it seems like we've had lots of businesses take 100, ENMU 300. So we're just happy to be able to in any way we can help.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you for everything you're doing.
You got it. See you, Alan.
Hey, we'll see you. All right.
Hey, Jasper, real quick. It's been nice out at your place. I went 2 weeks in a row. That was fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're trying our best to keep the largest patio open and keep people employed.
I sent 100 masks out there too, or they came and got them.
That's good. Thank you.
All right, next up on the agenda, Ruidoso Midtown Association. Matt, you're up.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We can.
All right, I apologize. I'm on my phone. My computer wouldn't connect for some reason, so my presentation is non-existent for right now. There's just a couple of things I wanted to go over. Ruidoso Midtown Association over the past quarter just kind of finished up our fiscal year. We got a new board for this season, so we're excited getting everybody caught up and moving forward. We just finished our bathroom project a couple of weeks ago, so we're excited about that. We still have some finishing work to do and tying in some creative art pieces and kind of a creative place there at the bathroom project. So next time you guys cruise by there, definitely check it out. We have a pretty creative fundraising tile project that we're going to be looking at installing throughout the district as well for 2021. Just because we've had to go kind of a different fundraising strategy for the organization, and special events are basically taboo. So we've officially kind of canceled all of our events for 2020 just under the current situation. We'll still hold on to them. We just don't want anything to negatively affect any of the events that we have due to COVID. So we'll just throw them when they're safe. Going back to the Ruidoso Safe campaign, we've been out kind of facilitating and helping hand out some masks and stuff like that. Big shout out to the village of Ruidoso for kind of accommodating that. And then again, just hearing Becky and them handing out so many masks, I get to hear it on the ground level that the people that live in Ruidoso, business owners, are excited that the village has taken a proactive approach to kind of combat this COVID issue. One thing that we've been working on, you guys might kind of hear come up, is a traffic calming measure study that was put on by the village of Ruidoso last week. We're anxious to see some sort of creative long-term plan to increase pedestrian usage and just kind of the usage of the Midtown district. So other than that, we've just kind of been staying steadfast. Again, the organization structure has kind of changed just with special events being out. Our revenue was down from last year comparatively to this year. And that's just the inability not to throw these events. So we'll keep staying scrappy and innovative, come up with funds so that we can put them back in the district. And other than that, I'll stand for any questions if you guys have any.
Matt, what'd you say your the response was by percentage to for and against as far as the closures on Sudderth went? I know that's been a question I've been asked a few times, and I thought you said it was a pretty high number of 4.
Well, I'm looking, and this is just going to be based off of the. I guess I can share the. I guess I could share the information here. Let me pull it up real quick to give you guys kind of. I think it's going to get brought up in council next Tuesday. Statistics of the survey. But if I'm not mistaken here, I'm pulling it up just so I don't tell you guys any information that's ill or off. 67%. So out of the businesses, there was 73 businesses that were surveyed. Basically the main survey question was if they supported the concept and the idea of a traffic calming measure in Midtown, and of the ones that responded, 63% were in favor and 36% were not in favor.
And those numbers.
So,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
And then really that, I think it's really pretty supported across the board there. Where businesses are going to take would have a positive impact on their business. We do have a 54% feel that it is a benefit to the district or benefit to their business. So just kind of a brief survey result. I'm not sure how they're going to dissect that at the council level, but it was a proactive approach from the village to get the merchants or the stakeholders information, public input on it.
Is that going to be discussed in today's meeting at 10:30?
It is.
Oh, so it's not next Tuesday. My bad. It's actually today.
I think the important thing with that too is when we went out and surveyed initially, we didn't realize we were actually going to be adding diagonal parking. So I think those numbers would have gone up tremendously just with that information, because there was people concerned about losing parking. And I have to give kudos to Tim Dodge for really kind of trying to accommodate everybody's needs, where certain businesses may need more pedestrian space and utilize that sidewalk. That'll be widened there. And then other businesses that don't want to lose their parking, we could add diagonal parking to accommodate, actually additional vehicles. When I was looking at it, obviously we need an engineer to look at it to get some real good eyes on it, but it looks like we're actually going to gain parking in Midtown based on what I'm seeing, because a lot of the places where you have inefficient parallel parking, if we add diagonal there instead, I think you can go from, let's say, 3 spots to 5 spots. So I think there's potential to really not have any impact on parking at all and possibly gain some if we're crafty and creative.
They had diagonal parking for years in town, and they had more parking. When they took the diagonal out, that's when we lost a lot of parking. A lot of people were really upset with Main Street about that parking situation.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see it's definitely going to be an uphill battle with this. And before anything moves, I mean, there's going to be New Mexico Department traffic engineers. I mean, this is all above our heads, but they'll come up with the most feasible plan. In my mind, they're not going to just cram it down. They're gonna take their time, come up with wayfinding, a bunch of stuff. So I'm excited that we're trying to, be innovative here. Again, it's just going to be an uphill battle, and you guys get that.
This is a short-term, temporary solution, but I think realistically we could look at it as a long-term strategy and a potential for long-term strategy. And if it doesn't work in the short term, we can always wash our hands of it. But in the long term, I think that there's a lot of benefit that we could see in the district. Some of the greatest commercial pedestrian districts in the country are way more pedestrian friendly than our Midtown. And I look at like Pearl Street in Boulder, Park City, Utah. There's places all over the country where you have really high pedestrian friendly areas, and that's attractive to people. You get a lot more people with more space outside. So I hope that this works out, and I think it'll be something that'll be interesting to see what council decides today. And if it does work out, I think there's a lot of potential to realign the district for the better and to really have a huge impact on that quarter mile that makes up Midtown.
I hope people understand it's pretty crucial for restaurants and like my tasting rooms to have outdoor seating at this time. And if people don't see that if you lose all your restaurants in your district, that people are going to leave your district when they get hungry or thirsty, and they're not going to come back. They're going to get in their car, they're going to drive off your district, they're not going to return. And if the other business owners, in my opinion, do not understand that, it's short-sightedness, it's a myopic focus. You're going to have negative externalities associated with traffic and some of the parking hurdles that can be addressed, and you can get past that. But I think this is a great beta test to, one, keep restaurants and taste rooms and people in business during these times, but then two, to see if it could actually work. Because I do agree that, if we can move to a more walkable, safer district that's more family friendly, you're going to get extended hours. You get all these things that I've been complaining about for 10 years. Oh, why is your district not open? Well, people leave your district. Because it's not family friendly, it's not super walkable, and it's hard to get them back. So I hope everybody sees the benefit in this. Because like my restaurant alone, I will close that if I cannot get extended seating. It's a numbers game. When you go from 50 tables down to 8, the numbers don't work. So now you're gonna have to lay off a building full of people and tell them to come back every time the governor says yes, and then go away every time the governor says no. That doesn't work for business, and I hope people understand that. This is not like a request for me because I need patio seating to be flush. I don't want to put people sitting in the middle of the street. Trust me, that's not what I want. But it is what we have to have at this time. And I hope everybody understands that, because that's been the thing I've been trying to urge. And we're doing it across the whole entire state. Ruidoso is moving, but I can tell you in the other 3 communities I've had approval in 2 of the other 4 communities. Ruidoso would be the third to hopefully make that approval. The slowest moving one in the state is Santa Fe, and they're actually trying to charge businesses to set up on the street so they can close their parking meters. So I will be pulling out of Santa Fe in October. I would hope that that's not what happened here in Ruidoso for people. But it is a crucial thing, and Cloudcroft and Red River were both approved within a matter of days. Just said, here, we're going to do it, but they had a little more buffer than what we do in our Midtown district, and I hope we get that addressed.
I'd like to put just a little bit on to what Jasper's saying in front of, I'm hearing from chamber members. We may need this for a long time. So I'm hoping that and encouraged that this will pass real fast here also. Because if we're going to get business back open and keep it open and make people feel safe, because there are a whole group of people, there are a whole sector of people that call, they want to know if we are being safe or not. They're going to feel so much more comfortable in that environment. So that's just the take I have from the chamber, and it's my personal.
Justin, Samantha, Jasmine, and Matt, I think you guys are the ones that worked on the survey more than anybody else. Did you guys have an opportunity to read through all the comments? Is there a common theme? And and some of those common themes on the people that are opposing it, I think we just need to look at why they're opposing it and see if there's ways that we can mitigate what their opposition is. For instance, like if there's a common theme of saying, oh, it's gonna kill the district because it's gonna, cut out more parking, then we say, no, we can modify the plan to accommodate more parking.
I think the biggest themes I saw was parking, and then concerns about the ambulance. How's the ambulance gonna get through? And then the other biggest concerns, so the top three, was the, what is it gonna do to traffic? And they're concerned about it backing up the flow of traffic down there. So I think that, wayfinding signs to the reroutes is gonna be essential to help people that are literally just passers through. But those to me seem like the biggest. Jazz and Matt, you might have, if Samantha's on, y'all might have some other input, but that's what I felt like I saw.
Anything else that I heard was, suppliers or delivery, people being able to deliver, but I think that, that would be addressed in the plan with the Center Street being an unloading and loading, zone there, so.
Yeah, same here. I think a lot of it was just that parking, and once we kind of address that, I think a lot of the businesses are going to see, a solution to that issue. Another comment that was made was the stoplights. So obviously, their concern was the lights just causing more traffic. So putting up stop signs, which again, we told them that it would be done, with engineers and all of that would be considered. So I think the more we talk to owners, the more comfortable they felt with the idea.
I had one the business owners through the village Facebook page send pictures of deliveries being made to her business from an ice cream truck, and showing how it wouldn't be safe for the ice cream truck to deliver out of the center median. And so and she's sent several times. So that's been a consistent complaint that I've heard through that line of communication. So I'll forward those on to you, Tim and Samantha, so that you guys can have those on record for how to get around that.
As a lodgers tax committee, do we feel comfortable providing unanimous support behind the notion of doing this? At least in the temporary, is that something that everybody, Lori, I hadn't heard anything from you. I mean, Jasper, I think it's clear where you stand. Melissa?
I think temporarily I support it. I mean, we have to make some changes to help everyone. And if we stand still, nothing's going to change. So I'm for it temporarily, yes, to see what happens, to see if it works or not.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm good with it too. This is Melissa. Yeah.
So it sounds like as a lodgers tax committee, we feel like it's something that's worth supporting, and that it's worth at least looking at in a temporary to see if it's a solution that is going to help resolve some of our short-term issues. And I think we're all comfortable moving forward with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you gonna attend the meeting?
Via Zoom, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just if you could speak up at that time and, express the support for the lodgers tax.
Absolutely. All right, Matt, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. I think I got everything out. Just look for some cool kind of unique projects that we're going to be kicking off here in the next month in the Midtown, and excited to get fiscal year 2021 underway.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
All righty, we'll backtrack a little bit. Let's see, we'll do the budget report. Judy?
So included in the packet was the final month of fiscal year 2020 overall. We were still up almost 3% over prior year, and we did actually make budget. We were about 5% over budget. So total collections for the year ended up being $1,855,764. We did pull back a lot of spending during the time that we were creating or implementing or trying to think about the new budget for 2021. So at the end of, the fiscal year, the fund actually ended up with $611 in the bank, which was able to balance the new fiscal year 2021 balance. We were shooting for 500,000, so we actually made our target. And so we are good to start the new fiscal year. Council will be hearing the final budget for fiscal year 2020, the budget adjustment, and they will actually be approving the fourth quarter DFA cash ending balances, which will begin our fiscal year 2021. So once those resolutions are approved, I will submit the final budget to DFA, and hopefully we'll have the final approval in a couple of days. But we have started 2021. Purchase orders are open. We're starting some spending with lodgers tax, so I think we started off pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Hopefully revenues will start coming at some point back.
They should. June was pretty busy.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mhm.
You know, one of the things that I want to add that's on a positive side, you know, when we looked at the budget, when we had that emergency meeting to look at your all's budget, you know, we had projected $500,000 to start the year with. We're starting with a little over 600,000. At that time as well, when we're building the budget, we looked at the total expenditures going into this year at 1.5, including that cash balance that we projected. As of yesterday, for last month, we've already received this month 173,000. You know, we had projected our revenues for this year to be right about $1 million. So, you know, I think we're well on track to hit that.
Right.
And you know, that just gives me some ease to know that you know, we budgeted conservatively, and it looks like we're you know, hitting our targets and making sure that we're still moving forward. So,
Right.
so I just think it's good news that we received that much in.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the receipts in June, we're at 83,000.
Yeah.
Compared to the prior month, which was 8,400.
Right.
So that was a dramatic
Yeah.
increase within a month, so.
And that was reported in your year end, though.
Yes,
So,
yes.
and coming into the next year, Stephanie reported to me that she's already received right about 173,000.
So those would have been people staying here in June,
Yes.
and my number would have been those in May.
Right.
So.
That's great. So that's not even really, if you look at FY20, that wasn't that much off of what we were at for FY20.
No.
So, I mean, that's only 20 grand shy of that, and we'll see what it ends up closing at. So, it's good.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Judy?
Judy,
I have a question.
Go ahead, Becky.
Okay,
ahead,
well,
Becky.
my question is this, because it has to do with demographics right now and what's going on and how the people are feeling about. I think that people seem to be much more interested in finding a cabin in the woods. So the people that want to come here and act responsibly, they just want to come here, they want to get out, and they don't necessarily want to go in public. They kind of get it. That's the older generation, maybe. They might have been people who stayed in hotels historically, but now they're in cabins. So I think that this whole thing with getting the Airbnb, where they're paying lodgers tax, is probably going to end up being a godsend. So good job on that.
Judy, do you think we'll be able to update our budget, seeing the numbers come back around in June? I mean, I think we'll have a dip in July. We're going to see the ebb and flow, you know, to my understanding of it demographically and seeing numbers coming in. I think every time we have updated health orders or, you know, these 14-day stay-at-homes and whatever. But do you think that we'll be able to update budget projections and potentially add to the budget as we approach mid-year through the fiscal? I mean, as I know it's really early to forecast, as you're really just seeing the first month start to trickle in of the new fiscal, but are you seeing any benefit in that from where you thought our original projections would be based off this? Because I don't think we're as down as bad as we are, assuming we don't hold back to that April, May kind of what we saw there.
So yeah, so as we were preparing the 2021 budget, we did like worst case scenario, but I would like to get a few months under our belt in the new fiscal year before we start adjusting the budget, and I think the committee has been very conservative, and that has benefited us in the past, not getting ahead of ourselves. So definitely, I would think in October or November, we could start looking at it for maybe a mid-year December change if the numbers are projecting that we're going to be up.
Sharon Richards, maybe that's something that I think we should probably circle back to absolutely by then, because I do think that if we're going to try to safely relaunch some of these events and other things that we have going on in the community that I do think are, things that really help the shoulder here, obviously safely and intelligently and not going against public health orders. But if we have that opportunity, I think that's something we should readdress as we approach mid-year or, first or second quarter on the fiscal, just to make those adjustments so we are prepared and we are ahead of it. Because, I think it's going to be crucial that I know people can pause events for a year, but I'm involved with other committees and other organizations that if they're thinking they have second year pausers or closures of events, that those organizations will go under. And I have the same fear for some of the nonprofits and the organizations that this lodger's tax money helps support.
Yeah, and I think by October, the next meeting, we'll have a good idea, just simply because, right now you've got football starting back in Texas, but schools are not sure about what they're doing. So I don't know what that's going to look for our August. Are we going to still have families coming up? Are we going to have the usual retirees that come up? What's going to happen September, October. And so I think by the time we have our October meeting, we'll have a good feeling about the fall. And so, yeah, I think we'll be good to go by that point.
Jasper, as you recall, but we cut out about half of the media marketing that we did. We went from 200,000 to 100,000.
No. 434,000 to 217.
217, yeah.
Okay, so we cut it in half.
Yeah, we cut it in half.
Still cut it in half, yeah.
The other stuff that we cut was a lot of the capital projects that were being funded. But all the contracts, from the various entities that we do business with, were kept in place. Those weren't impacted. So, I think that, really the marketing and the special events is what we need to take a look at. We have a couple of committees that are starting to meet to start looking at special events and how we're going to propose to change how we do business with those. There's some discussions about, trying to get the the Museum of the Horse more operational, so that would be a different venue that we would be able to utilize for different events as well. So, we're starting to talk with the mayor over at the Downs and that new administration to try to work together with them on different events as well.
And Jasper, I don't know how much I've expressed to you, like some of the stuff we're doing, but we've been getting from NMTD multiple times. Every week I'm on a call, I have a call every Wednesday with NMTD, and we've really been getting, hey, you guys can market. That's what I keep getting pushed, especially over the past 3 weeks or a month. So we've taken the same approach that Santa Fe has and some of the other communities and hopped back into our marketing. So while we're not marketing on television and billboards and some of those hard assets, we are doing a big push in our existing markets with digital, and we're going to continue to do that. And we're pushing multiple messages. One is the Discover Ruidoso, but the additional message that we're pushing is the New Mexico Safe Promise at this time. And by the end of the week, we'll have a full 30-second commercial of the Ruidoso Safe Promise, so it has more authenticity coming from our brand. But we're pushing those in those markets because from what I'm getting from the secretary is that we should be out there at least trying to attract tourists to our community, and really trying to drive tourism, because NMTD right now has their hands cuffed and they're not going to be doing any marketing to speak of, and they're not even allowed to do in-state marketing. So we really are out here on our own, but we're going to do it smart. We're going to do it crafty. And I think it's fine quarterly for us to look at the budget. I do want to be very conservative going into the fall. My concerns without special events, and from what I'm hearing, we're not going to be able to have special events until we have a vaccine, is that without special events, our shoulder months that we usually draw people in with those special events, those might be a little bit drier. So we're going to have to get creative as a community, leveraging RMA and other organizations, the chamber, to figure out how to restructure our events And I think that's the other thing about this Midtown project that we're looking at. This could present an opportunity where we could start hosting potential events in our Midtown district utilizing this realignment. So there's a lot of balls in the air right now, but we're going to stay very crafty, and Kelly will get into our marketing messaging with digital and social. But we're going to be as crafty as we can, go big, stay scrappy, and really focus hitting that heavy digital campaign.
You want to add that, like we talked about it, you get a hot spot, we can pull back.
Yeah, if we do start seeing concerning trends, that's part of the reason why we're going to stick with the digital. If we start seeing deeply concerning trends where we feel like it's necessary for us to pull back, with digital, it's an on and off switch, so we can hop in Facebook within a matter of minutes and flip those campaigns off, mitigate any potential, long-term damage. But we want to be flexible as we're going through this, because it's such a fluid environment that we're in, that I think that focusing on that social and digital campaign is going to be cost effective, effective in terms of marketing, and then also agile if we need to be. Is that what you're talking about?
A lot of the marketing we're doing now, you're attracting people that's going to come a quarter or 2 quarters from now, correct? I mean, it's not usually instantaneous. I know digital gets there a little faster, but you're talking, if you stop or pause campaigns now, you're going to see those numbers affected in later quarters, historically, right?
From what we're seeing, and Alan can probably touch on this, and is we're actually seeing people that, we're planning months out in advance, and now a lot of it is weekend warrior travel, or maybe Alan has a different term, but it's the cycle for people deciding to make a trip is a lot shorter. And I think that has to do with the inconsistency or the uncertainty of what's coming through the messaging from the state. And so what you're seeing is people are waiting till they see what happened in the press conference, and then maybe on a Thursday or Friday, heck, we're going to book a trip and we're going to go to Ruidoso. So it tends to be our more drive-in markets is where we're going to get that. But Alan, would you talk about that?
Like traditionally Labor Day would already be booked up for us. You look at like August, for example, and for the most part, we would be pretty fully booked at this point. What you see are these big gaps, but what's happening in the last, I would say, since the governor made the quarantine announcement in July, the traditional booking a month out, 2 months out for your 3 or 4 day stay is not happening anymore. So like, for example, last week we had maybe 8 cabins open on Monday. By Wednesday, they're fully booked up, and it's almost like a week-to-week basis now. It's not, people, like our October is way behind from the past 5 years for that far out reservations. And it's understandable. So I don't think marketing right now is going to be targeting people coming in October, November. I think marketing right now is hey, let's get up to Ruidoso this weekend. And we've seen that. I mean, like this coming weekend, we had it was kind of a old high school reunion group that comes up every year, stays for about 5 or 6 days. They're all 65 and above. And from Austin and Abilene, that kind of area in Texas, and they all canceled. And yesterday, 4 of the 5 cabins booked for this weekend, and I'm sure the other one will book today. So it's more 4 or 5 days out, not a month or 2 out anymore right now. So I think just marketing for the here and now and what's going on right now, as opposed to maybe putting out like a fall campaign right now is. I don't think people are even thinking towards the fall. It's more, let's go up this weekend, spur of the moment kind of thing.
Yeah, and I can get into that a little bit more when it's our turn. But yeah, usually around this time we would be talking, book your getaway, plan your Thanksgiving or Christmas. And because of the uncertainty and we don't have answers, because people are like, well, what's it going to look like then? Well, I don't know. It really has, like Justin said, been a lot of, here are our COVID safe practices, our Ruidoso Safe campaign targeting both locals and visitors. So when people are actually here, getting that message, the New Mexico Safe Promise, we've been pushing that out. And like Justin said, we're going to flip that to our own soon. And then the Discover is just basically our summer commercial that we were running back in the spring, kind of when all of this popped off, that not even like a hard call to action of like planning your trip, more just brand awareness. So trying to balance that safe messaging with staying top of mind.
Cool. All right.
We're good?
Thank you.
I think that,
Go ahead, Jasper.
I was just saying thank you for
Oh.
everybody's perspective. I'm just trying to understand it as well on my own, as we're doing the same thing for our own company. And obviously with, different moving targets, sit inside, don't sit, stand, spit on your head, wear a mask, put the mask on your feet, cuss out your customers if they don't have one on. So I think we're all trying to adjust at this point in time. So just good to hear what we're doing on our end as a community as well. So obviously we have safety and concern, but I think, it's not going away. So we have to figure out some sort of return intelligently to what we were doing before, safely and intelligently, because it's just, I don't think we can sit back and wait for the government to solve our problems. They're showing they're not doing a very good job at that currently.
All right. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Let's see. We'll do the Parks and Rec report. I guess, Jasmine, you're doing this one. Thanks, Judy.
Rodney's actually back, so he's gonna take the lead.
He's going to ask us for money now.
How did you know?
Don't have any.
That's not what I heard. Hey, good morning, everybody. So for this last quarter, as you all know, it's been quite a change for everybody, and including the Parks Department. So first, to go over the projects that were funded in the last fiscal year, we have all of those projects were completed. We had the 2 shades that were installed at the Kids Connection Playground. We've had the tennis courts at Schoolhouse Park that were resurfaced. We completed the expansion of the parking area at Alto Lake, and we have completed the Gavilan baseball field fence. All of the projects they're nice additions. We've had letters of appreciation and comments from a bunch of the different groups, other than the ball field, because that didn't get to be utilized this year. The Alto Lake parking area has been a really nice expansion, and we've seen most weekends it be at capacity. So it really has been a nice, a safe addition to the Alto Lake area. And then, as you all may or may not know, the village contributed paving to the road up to that parking area as well, because the gravel that was placed wasn't durable enough to handle all of the traffic. We have the current capital projects that we have going for the village include 3 trail projects. The Cree Meadows Trail project is quickly approaching the final design. It has been submitted for NMDOT for all of the certifications, which we are awaiting. So we are hoping that the construction will begin on that trail in the spring of 21. The Moon Mountain Trail project, the design is currently underway. They have completed survey work. We are currently submitting a request for construction funding, and that will most likely take place in spring of 21 as well. The Links rehabilitation, that is currently under design. It's currently being surveyed for the design process. And that one, I believe we skip a fiscal year for construction. So the construction on that one will most likely be the fall of, or the spring of 2022. Again, as you all know, we've been through a lot of changes in our operations for the Parks Department. During the past quarter, all of our Parks and Recreation staff, including the rec employees have either they operated essential daycare services. We've been managing operations at both lakes. We have amended our daily duties to include sanitizing all of our playgrounds on a daily basis. We refill hand sanitizer in the Midtown area, as well as all of our parks and lakes. We have stepped up the cleaning and sanitization of our public buildings, and then just the routine maintenance in all of our parks. Another area that we have changed through all of this is Grindstone Lake, where we have transitioned to a reservation system for weekends. That is a 300 car limit. We have, since we started this process, we have had a pretty steady reservations of around 300 cars for each day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This last weekend, the numbers have been lower, but that was due to the monsoon season starting. Our activity at the lake has been really consistent, even during the weekdays. Our revenue from the concessionaire has been steady, and it's actually exceeded last year's numbers. The offerings we have with the new food trucks and all of the vessels has been received extremely well. Our revenue is quite substantially above what it was last year. All of the improvements at the lake that we've put into place with the docks have been received well. The dock for the kayak rentals is working out very well. We would like to add some additional pieces to the dock. We would, and I'll be presenting that to the village council in the near future to request funding from the revenue for a small expansion and a shade area on the dock. We really haven't talked much about the end of the season, but I expect with the change in the way we're seeing visitors, that our season will most likely be expanded. I anticipate seeing high numbers in October, even into November, as long as the weather is good, which typically it is. So I would like to have those additions in place to extend that season, because people are taking advantage of the outdoor recreation. We have been very limited in the type of recreation or offerings to the public that we can offer. We did work with locals to provide a free day at Grindstone Lake for the July 4th weekend. We had a lot of positive feedback from the locals who did participate. I believe we had around 150 reservations, local reservations, on that Friday, July 3rd. And again, the transition that we have made in all of our programs, and especially the lake, has been actually worked out very well. Again, our park staff has contributed to the operations, as well as other departments in the village. And so I'll stand for any questions regarding any of the items I discussed.
Lake looks awesome, Rodney. It's cool standing on top of that the building up down there and looking at all the stuff you guys have put in and built and just seeing the improvement at the lake. And I know that you guys have been probably whipped by a few people about what you've done there, but I think it is a massive improvement and really offers a good time and a lot of enjoyment for people at that lake. So good work.
Thank you. And I believe the committee is aware that we had previously discussed repurposing the webcam that we had in Midtown. We're getting pretty close to having that active. It has been installed. We're just waiting to have that the connection or whatever finalized. But yes, I mean, I agree. It's really, the improvements have been received very well. The lake looks very nice, and some of the comments that we've had is, you know, there was a time earlier in the year where it was, I would say, it was being overcrowded, and by utilizing that reservation system, the feedback we've gotten is that people are actually enjoying their trip much better than they had previously, and you're seeing that in reflected in the revenue numbers. And I believe that we are going to see repeat visitors because of that. I think the way we were trending before with the high visitor numbers is we were probably turning people off on the visit. And so I believe that was, I mean, a really good decision, and people are really enjoying themselves and the opportunities out at the lakes. And again, we appreciate the support of the lodgers tax and continue to look forward to working with you in the future.
Well, I can't wait to have 2 headaches of webcams to deal with. That's going to be great.
Hey, Rodney, just on a note, people are much happier with the reservation system. So many people were coming here, driving all the way here, and they were thinking, okay, the lakes are open, let's go do that just to get out. They get here, they couldn't even get to the lake. And it was just so crowded that they're like, what day of the week would be better to come? So I think that was a really good thing.
Yes, I agree. And like I said, we had actually sent out a survey that was associated with the reservation system. And, you know, I think we had overwhelmingly positive feedback, and we rated like 4.3 stars out of 5 of all the responses. But yeah, overwhelmingly, we had some small glitches with the locals creating or purchasing annual passes and creating a reservation from that point. But you know, we've figured all that out, and it has been very positive.
All right, cool. Rodney, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can't do the face ID.
Kelly.
Yeah, okay. All righty, next up, let's see, quarterly reports, no, annual reports. Carrie and Kelly.
I'll go first. I'm going to talk about the digital numbers for tourism. And I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because some of these you guys have heard. This is just the annual look. Overall, for the last fiscal year, we had set some pretty aggressive goals, and we didn't meet the follower goal, but we did in terms of exceeding traffic to the website and engagement. So you can see those numbers there. Our impressions were about flat, around 19 million as they were the previous year. And one thing you'll see when you look at the report is we have a pretty big drop off in March. Some of that's to be expected just because April and May, are lighter months in general, but usually March and June are a little bit better in terms of growth. But just with the state of the world the last 6 months, you can see that drop off, especially in terms of engagement. The other thing though is, we had a good ski snow year. So that always has an increase. And so you can see within the report that a lot of our top performing posts for the last year had to do with snow and snow falling. So not super surprising there. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and we've included this in a previous report, was how PR and social kind of intermingle, and that was the Matador network coverage that we had this last year, and how we were able to repurpose it on our own social channels, but also, they pushed it out on theirs, and that all stemmed from the press tour we did a year ago, 18 months ago. I don't remember when that happened. But are there any questions on just the organic social side of things for the last year, before I get into the more of the paid side?
Think not.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. So, going off of the organic, one of the things that we did start doing more of this last year, just in a larger capacity, was looking at seeing what performed well organically, flipping it over into ads, and we'll continue to do some of that. But we have had to, as we pulled back on the budget this spring, we focus more on that, just kind of brand awareness, top line awareness, on the organic side. So looking at our social advertising for the year last year, we obviously had increases across the board just because we had a larger budget to work with. Some of the gaps early on, I don't know if you guys remember, but we had issues with the credit card at various points throughout the year. And so that's why there's kind of some starts and stops there. And then you can see in March how it really just drops off. We had a little bit still going, kind of like I said earlier, brand awareness. Once things started to open up a little bit more in June, we started a little bit more aggressive, but also really talking about the safe messaging. So right now we're in that fine balance of, like I mentioned earlier, trying to attract people, doing it in a safe way, talking about what we're doing as a village that, is keeping our folks safe, but then also not, following the public health order. So, it kind of is like Justin mentioned, we're relying more on digital because we're having to start and stop depending on what's happening in Santa Fe. I've included some of our top ads for the last year. One of them was our winter commercial targeting a lot of Texas and Arizona. I know we've talked about that a lot the last year, really focusing on that Arizona market. And then in terms of just brand awareness, one of the ads that we ran was the Find Your Adventure this winter. I know these aren't new numbers or stats for any of you guys, but you can look in there and see, the low cost per click or cost per action there on Facebook and Instagram also. We've also this last year done a lot of retargeting, a lot of custom audiences and lookalike audiences. And we'll continue to do that. As we look at this next year, like I had mentioned earlier, a lot of our focus right now is on that safe messaging, but also top line brand awareness. We had set aside quite a bit of budget to really focus on events this upcoming year, which aren't happening. So that's one area that we're shifting some of that budget around to some of these other campaigns. But like everyone, we're just trying to adapt our message and adapt the strategy based off the current climate. I know that Justin's going to talk more about the website in his presentation. I have included just some of those top pages in mine. The webcam continues to be, even outside of our homepage, the most visited page. The lodging in Rados is 3rd and Grindstone is 4th. But also in the top 10 is our COVID-19 travel advisory page that we've built out, and Carrie will talk some more about on the municipal side, some of that strategy, but We've been, as a tourism department, meeting pretty regularly as things change with the larger group, including Becky and Matt and the folks at the village. But also just as Carrie, Justin, and I, we're in constant communication based off what's happening in the world of COVID and the Department of Tourism. So I will stand for any questions because I know that Carrie also has a lot to cover on her end. Yes? No? It's so good. You don't have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Carrie and Kelly, and I would assume maybe Becky as well. If there's any way in your invoicing that you guys can kind of break out the time that you spent on COVID. I know that Carrie, I think we talked about it earlier. The governor talked about some grants being available to municipalities. I'd like to try to recover some of the money that's been expended and then put that back into lodger's tax if we can recover some of it. I know that several of you have worked on COVID related issues, so if we can just work that into the billing, we can probably get reimbursed.
Okay, because that was part of what I was going to touch on in my presentation, Tim, is as we've been going through this, like just to give you guys an idea, most of the last quarter, the agency staff has spent a ton of time on crisis communication for COVID issues. And I think we were kind of shocked too when we, tracked our time and looked at it, and we've spent close to 700 hours just on COVID related issues. So, I mean, that's a pretty big amount that, of crisis communication. So that has been, as you guys, I'm sure, saw from the report, a lot of what we've spent our time on for the last quarter. And the social and website statistics for the municipal side look different from the tourism side, because as you can see, everything went way up once we started on the crisis communications. The website and the tourism website, the Facebook page just went berserk because that's where a lot of people started going for their information. And as Kelly can input here as well, that it's just been a constant flow of communication and managing the social network, especially with communication and answering questions. And it's just been a constant barrage, as you guys can imagine. So we did stand up it's basically like a microsite within the village site of COVID resources, basically, where people can get information of all sorts. And that has become the second to the home page, the second most popular page on the site. And I think it's been very helpful to visitors who, it's gotten a ton of traffic and very sticky. So I think that was a good thing that we did early on. And it's been where we could, put all the Riddles of Safe stuff, economic stimulus stuff. And so it's become a very good tool for the village to have. And then in our report, I just put some of the other things that we've done for the crisis response with regards to the survey, helping with the reopening plan, and the stuff that we have done in there. And then the non-COVID stuff, we have been very involved with Parks and Rec on some of their projects, a lot of them out at Grindstone, and our usual PIO duties with all of just making sure that information gets disseminated out from the village with anything going on with street closures, anything like that, job openings. And then we had another successful GO bond, and so we were, helping with all of that as well. And then one of the latest things was the Don't Feed the Wildlife campaign, and I believe, Tim, that those brochures got in last week, so they're ready to. I don't know if you guys have already started getting them out, but we've helped with that public information campaign, and then also the radio station, and we did the branding for that, and then are working now with Jasmine and the group over there at the radio station to get a marketing plan together and roll that out. So any questions on any of that? Otherwise, Justin, I'll kick it back to you.
Okay.
I'd like to add one thing. Most everything that Deborah and I are doing at the chamber is COVID related. I mean, nobody's calling there to ask about anything basically, but either.
Are you gonna get arrested?
Yeah, they asked that too. And they tell me that they saw on Facebook a Texas couple got arrested coming out of their hotel room, so it's pretty scary the stuff we hear. But yes, 99.9% of the questions that they call about is they just have a question or two about, and then they go into it. So yes, but everything we're doing, between the masks, trying to lead people to your new site, Carrie, the microsite, whatever you call that. But all this information is really good, because even though sometimes they don't want to hear what we have to say is true, I think it's really important that we have the resources for people to look at. So thanks everybody for your hard work.
The other thing that's included in the packet is just some of the creative assets for the last year, and a lot of these you guys have seen. One of the ones that you might not have seen is our Discover Rito So Later campaign, and that's one that we flipped over to, I guess, end of March and into April, really when we were in the lockdown, but already had a lot of those media buys in place. We lifted that probably was it like end of May, early June. Once the short-term rental restriction was lifted, we pulled back on the Discover Later campaign. So that's another thing that's in your packet. And then along with the overall just numbers of creative assets that we had created for the tourism side, but also including some of the municipality creative.
I'll go ahead and hop in real quick, and I'll try to make this quick and painless. Last fiscal, we went through, we had print advertising in 6 different assets. We were on the military bases in Holloman, Fort Bliss, JBSA, which is actually 3 bases in San Antonio, and Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson. Outdoor out of home, we were in El Paso on a digital rotator, San Antonio on a digital rotator. We had our bus wraps in Tucson, which are still rolling through the community since nobody's buying bus wrap advertising right now. We have Lubbock International, Tucson International, Albuquerque Sunport, and El Paso International Airport at all the baggage claims. We were on the rotators there with video content. Kelly went over the digital, but we did partner with Flight New Media for the majority of the year on SEO and PPC. And then when COVID hit, we obviously pulled all that stuff offline, and currently don't have anything going on with that. And Go New Mexico was another asset that we utilized for digital. They do a lot of direct referrals to us. So we get a list of about 35 to 45 people every week that they are referring to us. And in addition to that, those people are getting content on their website for us. We're also on TV. We had television commercials that we had 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 seconds, and 5-second commercials running on KCBD in Lubbock. That was year-round. KBOA in Tucson, that was year-round. We had 30 seconds commercials on Hulu in Phoenix, Dallas, and San Antonio. And then we had seasonal on KOB in Albuquerque, KTSM, not KTSM Lubbock, KTSM in El Paso. And we had KTDO in El Paso as well, which is their Telemundo station, which reaches over into Juarez. So that one's kind of nice because you pay for the El Paso viewership, but you're also getting additional viewers in Juarez, which Nielsen isn't measuring. So that was good for us. This year, as I said earlier, we're changing the approach, and we were hoping to get some NMTD co-op funding, which we applied for a pretty good chunk of it, which was going to offset our advertising deficit. We have been notified that that has been put indefinitely on hold, so we have no notion of when, if, or how much money we could possibly get from the state. So it's going to be go big, stay scrappy. I think that we're going to be just fine, really focusing on our digital assets. We'll start looking at some of these desperate marketers moving down the road and looking at some crafty purchases. But for right now, it's just going to be heavy digital. We're going to continue focusing on our hot markets. So Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. When they do open up the border again and it's safe, we'll also advertise down into Mexico as well. We don't want to lose that Arizona focus that we've had. We've seen that audience really starting to grow, and we want to maintain that relationship from a marketing perspective. We are advertising currently in the Arizona Cardinals and the Arizona Diamondbacks yearbook. So those are not actually within the stadium. Those are actually distributed out to the network of season ticket holders and people who have purchased season tickets. So that's about 700,000 people that receive this yearbook. We have the back cover page, full page ad in that. So again, just trying to maintain that presence in Arizona. Continue to focus on our videography, photography, and trying to keep that as much in-house as possible. This last year, with exception of photography, we kept the videography entirely in-house, and really going to try to focus on diminishing that budget as much as possible to save money. Strategic partnerships. This year, as you all know, we entered into agreement with VRBO, which took effect July 1. So we'll see that first check in August, at the end of August, August 26th. That's basically structured just like the Airbnb agreement. Based on what VRBO looks like in our community, I would anticipate that those checks would be fairly comparable to Airbnb, just because their number of property listings are comparable as well. So pretty excited about that. It'll be interesting to see where we fall, but that's going to be a huge relief for Stephanie's department. And I know she's still going to be out there chasing them down, but that'll really help dial in on some of those OTAs, online travel agencies. The Visit Widget app launched in October, of course, and we had just about 40,000 users, 226,000 page views, and 50,000 sessions between October and now. What we saw was during our peak time, so when we had the most people in town for whatever event it was, that's when we were getting our heaviest usage. So that's when we were really seeing that thing used. So people are using it while they're here to plan their trip and to make their way through our community. It's exciting because the kiosks have been implemented across the community. And I do want to give a shout out to Ellen, because she does a really good job on our webpage, developing the content that keeps everything from our website down to the kiosk content and the app content fresh and relevant. So she's always silent, no one ever sees her, but she does a heck of a good job. So I want to throw a huge appreciation out to her, and appreciation to RMA for helping us roll that project out and implement the kiosk project. As mentioned before, we are working on that realignment of the Midtown District, the temporary realignment of the Midtown District. And I think long-term strategy, if it does work and appease the community, could have a lot more benefits than the immediate needs that are being addressed, particularly when it comes to special events and thinking about how to redevelop and re-strategize the way we live, work, and play. I just stole that from Tim, but the way we live, work, and play in our community needs to be re-strategized to fit the new COVID reality that we're living in. And I think that that quarter mile redeveloping that could have a whole bunch of different impacts. The village, as some of you may or may not know, now has 18 20 by 20 tents. which could be utilized for special events in Midtown with that restructuring there. So at the onset of COVID-19, I was in California for the social media marketing world and saw kind of what was going on. Got on the phone with Cody Johnson, the PIO of the NMTD, and just through calling him, Secretary Schreier, was able to get a task force organized very early on. I think it was like March 6th. And we have had a call with the same DMO task force every week. They've added a few people to it every single Wednesday to do updates and really try to be advocates for tourism, but try to do it responsibly and understand. So a lot of these, the New Mexico Safe Promise, and a lot of these different things have come out of this task force. And it's been a lot of good conversations and being a voice of advocacy for the community and for our state overall. In terms of our website and digital, we did have a little bit of a dip, and I think that's obvious because of COVID, where you see a lot of people going to the Muni page. We weren't getting as many people going to our tourism page, but it only dipped about 3.54% total sessions. We did have an increase in users, which tells me that our marketing into new markets and our overall brand awareness campaign strategy is working. So it's about a 10% increase in users. And I think that, our marketing is on track to continue attracting more people to our community. We really want to see Arizona and Phoenix grow. I'd like to see, Arizona with Tucson and Phoenix grow. They're both in our top 25 in overall users and sessions, but I'd like to see them top into the top 10, at least that Tucson market specifically. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And then,
Justin, some of that dip too, if you guys remember a year ago is when we had the 2 feet of snow in December and January. And so that was part of our huge traffic increase to the website. So we're up against a little bit of that last year. So I think if you took out that data, we'd actually overall for the year be pretty far ahead.
I supplied the visit widget analytics. That page is there, so you can see kind of our user base. We're continuing to grow, so we have a pretty good chunk of new users within that. Just did some of our top pages, which I know Kelly went over, and that's about it. I'll stand for questions. Or actually, I will touch is we are finalizing our Ruidoso Safe 30-second commercial, which I mentioned earlier. We should have that. We will have that done by the end of the week. We just lack a few shots. We're going to get a professional voiceover like we did for the Discover Later commercial. So it's really well polished and has a good message. But we're excited to be marketing again. I think we just need to focus on doing it responsibly.
All right. We're up against a 10 o'clock deadline, so we'll make this relatively quick. Discussion and possible action to fund host compliance auditing software for $15,000. I'm going to turn it over to Tim if he wants to, or Samantha. I'm sorry, Samantha. If you want to explain what that is to the committee.
Yes, Chairman. This component of host compliance will help us to audit those individuals that may not be properly reporting their lodger's tax payments. So it would be something that we would initiate, and then they would do the work. So I'll stand for any questions that you all may have.
Hey, Samantha, quick question. Is this with the Airbnb and VRBO both signing on and agreeing with us? You guys still will see use out of this host compliance software because you're going to be able to target non-Airbnb and VRBO users as well. I mean, you feel comfortable with that, or is there other sites that they're going to be able to search and scan and crawl and look for that data outside of those two, or do you still see value in this?
I do see a value. They'll be able to scrap other websites that just may not be as popular as Airbnb and VRBO that we're not aware of. So they'd be able to filter through all of that throughout the internet.
Thank you.
And Samantha, is the other benefit of the software to be able to notify neighbors of if an Airbnb or a short-term rental is being utilized in their neighborhood? That's also what you guys use the software for, is that correct?
Host compliance, yes, they have an ArcGIS that Stephanie, she updates daily, and so anybody could go on there and put in their home address and see which homes in their neighborhood are short-term rentals.
That's already been. This is specific to the auditing add-on module. That's already been funded. That component of STR helper.
Right.
So this is just specific to the module for the auditing, the rental activity auditing.
Yes, to help us figure out which individuals are underreporting.
Right. Mr. Chairman, Jasper, the host compliance is actually monitoring 50 different sites. So, Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, those are only, a few of the popular sites that they monitor, but, there's a couple of lodgers in the area that are still out there doing their own type of reservations and whatnot. And there's individuals that are also renting out their homes that we're suspicious that they're, we see them constantly full, but they file a zero report. So this software will actually be able to tell us who's filing the zero report and when they have blackout dates and what they had it posted for. And so if a property owner comes back and says, I blacked it out because I used it that weekend, or I had a family member that used it, then it adjusts it, but it calculates the liability that they should be paying, and it shows the dates they're renting. So the people that we're concerned with are the ones that are out there kind of on their own doing things a little bit creatively that we're not catching. And
when there's been some advertisements on these sites, it's, I know there's been some cash, calls for cash, calls for this, So people are working their way around it right now.
That's everything that we're seeing is, and I don't understand it, but they're offering these discounts if they cancel the reservation and book it directly, and so there's just a bunch of different things that are happening out there right now, and I believe that this would give a return on the investment, and if it doesn't, then we just shut it off next year.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you for diving into that as well, Tim. That's good to know.
Any other questions? All right. Do we have a motion? Or go ahead, Jeffrey.
Motion to approve. Yeah, I make the motion to approve the funding of host compliance auditing software for $15,000.
All righty. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All right. No. All those in favor, let's see. I'll go through the list. Melissa? Lori?
Aye.
And Jasper?
Aye.
All right. Motion approves. And I think that's it. Made it with 6 minutes left. Hey, thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you in a few months. And
thank you very much.
Motion.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Meeting is adjourned, not motion. I haven't worn a mask that long.